The trade station at 9 was always loud and crowded. Ships from 100 different worlds came here to buy and sell goods. Humans, aliens, traders, and workers all moved through the wide streets and markets. The smell of strange foods and burning fuel mixed in the air. This was where worked, loading containers onto ships at the docks. Was not a remarkable man. He had worked on the station for 3 years, doing the same job every day. He loaded boxes, unloaded cargo, and went home tired. The other workers knew him as someone who did his work well and did not cause trouble. He was a human in a place where humans were common but not special. On this day had finished his shift early. The sun was setting, and the market streets were becoming even more crowded. Workers from the night shift were arriving. Traders were closing their shops or preparing for the evening business. Decided to walk through the market before heading home. He wanted to buy something to eat for dinner. The market was full of different things to see. There were clothing stalls selling bright fabrics from alien worlds. There were food vendors cooking meat and plants that had learned to enjoy. There were technology shops with strange machines and tools. The sound of people speaking in different languages filled the air. Was walking past a group of large storage containers when he heard a voice. It was a child's voice, and it was crying. The cry was different from human cries. It had a strange quality, like breaking glass mixed with pain. Stopped and listened. The crying continued, and it grew louder and more desperate. Without thinking much about it, walked toward the sound. He turned a corner where the market was less crowded. There, between 2 shipping containers, he saw something that made his stomach turn. 4 large traders were standing over a small alien child. The child was small, no more than 7 years old. Her body was made of blue and green crystal that glowed with soft light. This was one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. The traders were beating the child with sticks in their hands. The child was trying to protect her head with her arms. Her glowing blue body was turning dark where they hit her. The light inside her was fading. She was crying and calling for help in her own language, but no one was coming. The traders were laughing, enjoying what they were doing. Did not think. He did not make a plan. He did not consider that these were large, mean traders who might hurt him badly. He simply saw a child being hurt, and something inside him could not accept it. He ran forward and pushed one of the traders away from the child. The trader fell backward, surprised by the sudden attack, placed himself between the child and the other traders, spreading his arms wide. "Stop," said. His voice was calm, but his body was ready for violence. "Leave her alone." The traders looked at like he was stupid. One of them laughed, a deep, ugly sound. They were much larger than they were used to fighting. They did not think a human dock worker could stop them. "Go away, human," said the largest trader. His skin was purple and covered in thick muscles. "This is not your business." "It is my business," said. "There is a child here, you are hurting her, that makes it my business." The traders did not argue anymore. They simply attacked. The largest one threw a punch at its face, tried to block it, but the punch was fast and strong. It hit his cheek and sent him backward. Pain exploded in his face. The other traders joined in. They hit him from different angles, could not protect himself from all of them at once. He fell to the ground and they continued hitting him. They hit his back, his chest, his arms, his legs. Every hit brought new pain, but did not move away from the child. He curled his body around her, protecting her from the worst of the hits. The child was hiding behind him now, her glowing body pressed against his back. He could feel her crying, her small body shaking with fear and sadness. The traders hit again and again. They were enjoying this. They were laughing and making jokes in their own language, could taste blood in his mouth. His vision was getting darker. He wondered if he would die here in this dark corner of the market. Then suddenly the beating stopped. Loud sounds filled the air, alarms and sirens. The traders ran away, disappearing into the crowded market. Station security had arrived. Two security guards in blue uniforms stood over. One of them spoke into a communication device. "We need medical assistance at the East Market. We have an injured human and an injured child." Could barely move, everything hurt, but he felt the small child move beside him. She was putting her crystal hand on his arm. She was trying to help him, even though she was also hurt. Time became strange and blurry. Medical workers arrived with a floating bed. They placed on it and moved him to the medical center. As they were carrying him away, saw something that surprised him. A tall woman was arriving at the market. She was moving quickly, her body glowing bright blue like the child's. Other aliens were stepping out of her way, showing her respect. Behind the woman, saw the child being lifted by another medical worker. The child was reaching out toward the place where had been. She was calling out in her strange, beautiful language. Then was inside the medical center, and everything went dark. Later, much later, would learn that the tall woman was the child's mother. She was a commander in the military. She was powerful and respected. She controlled a warship and hundreds of soldiers. And she had seen what had done. She had seen him take a beating to protect her daughter. She had seen him place himself between danger and an innocent child. She had seen something in the human that she had never seen before in her entire life. This single act of kindness would change everything. Woke in the medical center with pain covering his entire body. White lights hung above him. Machines beeped and made soft sounds around his bed. A clear tube ran into his arm, feeding medicine into his bloodstream. His face was wrapped in bandages. His chest was covered in patches that helped his broken ribs heal. A human doctor named came to check on him the next morning. She examined his wounds carefully. She told him that he was lucky. His injuries were serious, but they would heal. He had a broken arm, 3 broken ribs, and many deep bruises. His face would need time to heal as well. "You did a very brave thing," said, looking at her medical tools. "Fighting those traitors was dangerous. You could have died." Did not feel brave. He felt stupid. He had made a choice without thinking about what would happen. Now he was lying in a hospital bed with pain everywhere. "The child," said, his voice was rough and difficult to use. "The small alien, is she okay?" Nodded. "The child is in the medical center too. She has injuries, but nothing permanent. Her mother is very interested in her care. That woman has made sure the child gets the best treatment available on this station." Did not know who the child's mother was. He did not know that she was a military commander. He did not know that she had noticed him. On the 3rd day of recovery, he received a visitor. A tall woman entered his room. Her body glowed with soft blue light. Her shape was not quite human, but not completely alien either. She moved with grace and power. Her eyes, if they could be called eyes, looked directly at with great interest. Behind her came the small child he had protected. She looked much better now. The dark marks on her crystal body had faded. Her light was bright again. When she saw, she made a sound of joy and moved toward him. "You are awake," the tall woman said. Her voice was strange but clear. The station's translation device made her words easy to understand. "You are healing. This is good." "Yes," said. He did not know what else to say to such a powerful being. The woman moved closer to his bed. She studied him carefully, like he was something interesting to examine. The child touched his hand gently. She was careful not to hurt him. "I am," the woman said. "This is my daughter, Lyra. You saved her life." I just started, but raised one hand to stop him. "You fought 4 traitors," said. "You fought them knowing they were stronger than you. You fought them knowing you could lose. You fought them to protect a child that was not your own. This is something I do not understand." Looked at the small child. She was smiling at him with her whole body glowing bright. She did not care about power or logic. She just cared that was alive and awake. "She was being hurt," said simply. "I could not let it continue." Was quiet for a long moment. "Among the, we are logical. We value strength and intelligence. We do not make decisions based on emotion or feeling. I would have seen my daughter being beaten and made a logical choice. The logical choice would be to let her die. One child is not important when many children exist. Felt anger at this. That is wrong. Is it? Asked. Her glowing eyes seemed very interested in his answer. You put your life in danger for one child. You suffered greatly. You could have died. Was this logical? No, admitted, but it was right. Came back to see every day for the next week. She brought expensive medicine and medical equipment. She brought food and things to make comfortable. She asked him many questions. She wanted to understand why he had done what he did. Did you think the traders would stop if you asked nicely? She asked. No, said. Did you think your human body could beat 4 trained fighters? No. Did you think you might die? Yes, probably. Then why? Asked. Why would any being choose death for a stranger's child? Had to think about this carefully. Because some things are more important than living. Some things are more important than logic or safety. When a child is suffering, you stop it. That is what matters. Lyra came with her mother on these visits. The small girl would sit beside and sometimes hold his hand. She would make soft sounds that the translation device said were words of thanks. She would watch him with curiosity and something that looked like love. One day, when was strong enough to sit up, made him an offer. She told him that she needed a consultant. She needed someone to help her understand human nature and human thinking. She had a warship called the Pride. She wanted to come aboard and work for her. Your kind is weak, said. It was not cruel, she was simply stating fact as she saw it. Your bodies are fragile, you do not live as long as we do. You are not as smart on average. And yet you have survived for thousands of years. You have built civilizations. You have created art and music and literature. You protect each other. You sacrifice for each other. I do not understand this. I can help you understand, said. I know you can, said. This is why I am here. Will you come? Looked down at his broken body. He looked at Lyra, who was watching him with bright, hopeful eyes. He thought about his life on the station. He worked. He slept. He ate alone. He had no family. He had no one waiting for him. Yes, said, I will come with you. Lyra made a sound of pure happiness. She glowed brighter, filling the medical room with blue light. 2 weeks later, when could walk again, he left the station. He walked up the boarding ramp of the Pride, stood waiting for him. Lyra ran to greet him, her crystal body glowing with joy. As the ship rose into the air and left the station behind, watched the planet below grow smaller. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if he had made the right choice. But when Lyra took his hand, he knew one thing was true. He had changed the life of one alien child. And now, that child's mother wanted to understand him. He was no longer just a dock worker. He was someone important to someone, and that made all the difference. The Pride was not like any ship had ever imagined. It was large enough to carry 500 soldiers and crew. It moved through space using technology that did not understand. The walls glowed with soft light. The rooms were clean and perfect. Everything served a purpose. There was no decoration, no art, no music. Showed to his quarters on the first day. The room was small but comfortable. It had a bed, a desk, and a window showing the stars outside. She explained that this was where he would sleep. She explained where he would eat. She explained that he would work in the science department. You will help us understand human nature, said. You will answer questions. You will teach us how humans think and feel and why you make the choices you make. What will I learn about you? Asked. Seemed surprised by this question. Why would you need to learn about us? Because I am coming to live with you, said. I should understand my new home. For the first time, saw something that looked like a smile on his face. The science department was led by a named Horn. He was older than, his crystal body showing signs of age. He did not seem happy to see. He made it clear that humans were not valuable enough to study with such care. A human's life is less than 70 years, Horn said. Lives for 200 years or more. Why would we waste time learning from something so temporary? Because what humans do in their short time is remarkable, said. They accomplish much, they love much, they sacrifice much. Weakness, Horn said, but he allowed to work in his laboratory. His job was to explain human behavior. Scientists would ask him questions, and he would answer. Why do humans help each other? Why do humans feel sad when others die? Why do humans create art when they could be working? Why do humans have children when having children takes resources and time? Did his best to explain. He tried to use simple words. He tried to show them that these things were not weakness. They were strength. They were what allowed humans to survive even though they were fragile and short-lived. Lyra came to find often. She would sit in the laboratory while he worked. She would listen to the scientists ask questions. She would watch how answered. And slowly something happened to her. She started to change. One day, Lyra saw another young child being punished for making a mistake. The child was being forced to stand in a cold room for many hours. This was normal punishment. It taught the child to accept pain and not feel unhappy about it. But Lyra went to the other child. She touched the child's body gently. She told the other child that she cared. She told the other child that the punishment was not right. When Horn learned about this, he was angry. He came to with his complaint. Your daughter is being corrupted, Horn said. She is showing emotion. She is showing weakness. This human is making her weak. My daughter is showing compassion, said quietly. This is not weakness. This is something else. The council will not agree with you, Horn said. Other commanders are already questioning why you keep the human aboard. They say you have become illogical. They say you are not worthy of your position. Did not answer but saw that she was troubled. That night, she asked to walk with her through the ship. They walked through the long corridors where no one else was present. There is a problem, said. The other commanders do not like what is happening. They do not like that you are here. They do not like that my daughter is changing. They are calling me illogical. Maybe I should leave, said. No, said, her voice was firm, you will not leave. They came to a room that had not seen before. Inside were walls of crystal that showed images of stars and planets and galaxies. Stood at the center of the room and looked at all the worlds. They have conquered many systems, she said. We are intelligent, we are strong, we do not fail. We are the most advanced species in this part of the galaxy, but something is wrong with us. What is wrong? Asked. We are empty, said. We have conquered worlds, but we do not feel happy about it. We have created technology, but we do not enjoy using it. We have ruled others, but we do not have friends. We are alone, we are very alone. She turned to face him. Her glowing eyes were bright with something that might have been tears, though should not be able to cry. When you protected Lyra, you felt something, said. You felt that her suffering was wrong. You felt that her protection was important. This feeling made you do something illogical, but it made you do something right. Yes, said. I want to feel this, said. I want to know what it means to care about something more than logic. I want my daughter to grow up knowing this feeling. And I want you to help me teach that strength is not enough. We need something more. We need heart. A sound came from the communication system. Horn's voice filled the room. You must come to the council chamber immediately. The other commanders are demanding you answer for the human. They are demanding to know why you keep him aboard. They are asking if you are still loyal to the way. Looked at, she did not seem afraid. She seemed ready. Stay in your quarters, she said to. Do not leave until I return. She turned and walked away, her body glowing bright and strong. Stood alone in the room of stars. He looked out at all the worlds that they had conquered. He wondered if would survive what was coming. He wondered if his choice to come aboard this ship would result in her losing everything. But he also knew one thing. Something had started that could not be stopped. Lyra had felt compassion, had felt caring. The Empire was beginning to change. And it had all started because a dock worker named had decided that a child's suffering was worth dying for. The council chamber was vast and glowing. 7 high commanders sat in a circle, their bodies shining bright blue and green, stood in the center, facing them all. Around the chamber, hundreds of soldiers and workers watched. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Vexes was the one leading the attack. He was older than and more traditional. He believed in the old way. He believed that emotion was disease and weakness was the worst possible thing. "You have broken our ways," Vexes said to. "You have allowed a human to live aboard a warship. You have permitted the human to teach our young false ideas. Your daughter now shows signs of emotional weakness. This is unacceptable." "My daughter shows signs of growth," said calmly. "She understands compassion. She understands caring. These things will make her stronger, not weaker." "You are wrong," Vexes said. "Your judgment has become clouded. You are no longer fit to command. I am challenging your leadership. I am demanding that you give me your ship, your position, and your power. If you refuse, I will take them by force." The council room became completely silent. All the watchers understood what was happening. A commander was being challenged. If lost this challenge, she would lose everything. Stood still, her body glowed steady and strong. "I will not step down. I have earned my command through intelligence and ability. I will not give it to someone who fears what is new." Vexes stood up. "Then we will use the old way. We will use the trial of truth." Every in the chamber moved at this statement. The trial of truth was ancient. It was supposed to settle disputes between commanders when they could not agree. One challenger would face tests of body, mind, and spirit. If they survived, they were proven right. If they died, they were proven wrong. "You are challenging a human," asked one of the other commanders. "A human cannot survive the trial. A human will die." "Then the human's influence was not worth protecting," Vexes said, "and was wrong to defend him." Turned to look at in the observation area. He had not been in the council chamber, but he was watching through a communication screen. Their eyes met across the distance. "The human will accept the trial," said. "He will survive, and when he does, you will see that humans possess strength that you do not understand." Wanted to refuse, he wanted to run, he wanted to tell that this was madness, but he understood what she was trying to do. If he refused, she would lose her command. Lyra would lose her mother, and the would never change. He walked into the council chamber. He stood in the center, facing all the commanders. Lyra watched from another observation area, her small crystal body glowing with fear and worry. "I will accept the trial," said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. The trial had 3 parts. The first was a test of body, had to fight with strength and skill against a series of machines that grew stronger and faster. The machines struck at him with metal arms. They tried to break his bones and damage his organs. Fought back with the training that they had given him over the past weeks. He dodged. He blocked. He struck back with precision. By the end of the first test was bleeding and hurt, but he was still standing. He had not given up. The second part was a test of mind. Had to answer complex questions about science and mathematics and logic. He had to solve problems that seemed impossible. His human brain worked differently from a brain, but he was clever. He found ways to understand the problems. He gave answers that were not perfect, but were correct enough. By the time the second test ended, could barely think. His whole body hurt. His mind was exhausted, but he had survived. The third part was the hardest. It was a test of spirit, had to face his deepest fears. Machines showed him images of being killed. They showed him Lyra being hurt. They showed him everything he loved being destroyed. The machines were trying to make him give up. They were trying to make him say that his sacrifice was not worth it. Fell to his knees. He was crying. He was suffering in a way that no human body should have to suffer. The council chamber was completely quiet. Everyone was watching him break. But did not give up. He thought of the day he first saw Lyra. He thought of her small body being beaten by traitors. He thought of the choice he had made to protect her. That choice had been right then. It was right now. "I will not give up," said. His voice was barely a whisper. "I will not stop. I will not fail." Suddenly, from the observation area, something happened that no one expected. Lyra began to cry. Actual tears came from her crystal eyes. These were real tears, not ice, not liquid light. Real tears made of salt water like human tears. They had never seen such a thing. A should not be able to produce tears. It was not possible, it was impossible, and yet it was happening. The other commanders stood up to see what was occurring. They watched as Lyra cried for the human who had saved her life. They watched as she felt real emotion, real connection, real love. Vexus tried to speak, but the council stopped him. They looked at each other. They looked at Lyra. They looked at, lying on the ground, beaten and broken but still refusing to give up. One of the elder commanders stood up. "This trial proves truth," the old commander said. "The human is strong. His strength is not in muscles or mind. His strength is in spirit. His strength is in the willingness to suffer for those he cares about. They have forgotten this kind of strength." "Is correct," said another commander. "The human has something we need. We must learn from him." Vexus tried to protest, but the council would not listen. The trial was over, had survived, had won. Medical workers brought to a healing chamber. As they carried him away, he saw Lyra running toward him. Her small crystal body was glowing bright, and real tears were still falling from her eyes. She said, "You survived. You did not give up." "I did it for you," said. "I did it for your mother. I did it because some things are worth any amount of pain." As the medical workers took him to healing, heard something he had never expected to hear from he heard them saying they understood, not with their logic, but with something deeper. He heard them beginning to understand what it meant to have a heart. It took 3 weeks for to heal from the trial, 3 weeks of medical treatments and rest and pain. But slowly his body recovered. His wounds closed. His strength returned. The medical technology was far superior to anything on the human station. By the end of the 3rd week, could walk again. He could move without pain. During his healing time, Lyra came to visit him every day. She would sit beside his bed and tell him stories about the ship. She told him about the other young who were starting to question the old ways. She told him about teachers who were beginning to talk about emotion and compassion. She told him that things were changing. Came once on the first day after the trial. She stood silently for a long time just looking at him. Then she said, "You sacrificed yourself to save me. You did not have to do this." "Yes, I did," said. "You would have lost everything if I had refused." "You could have died," said. "But I did not," replied. Moved closer to him. For the first time she reached out and touched him gently. Her crystal hand was warm and smooth. "Among the," she said slowly, "we do not touch each other except in formal settings. We do not show affection. It is not our way. But I am beginning to understand that the old ways are not the only ways." She sat down beside him and they talked for hours, told him about her life as a commander. She told him about the pressure to be perfect, to be logical, to never show weakness. She told him how lonely it had been to live in a society where emotion was forbidden. "When I saw you protect Lyra," said, "I felt something I had never felt before. It was like a door opening inside me that had been locked for my entire life. That door was compassion. That door was love." Reached out and took her hand. On the day left the medical chamber, the entire crew gathered in the main passage. They wanted to see him. They wanted to look at the human who had changed everything. The workers and soldiers and scientists all looked at him as he walked past. Lyra ran to him and hugged him. She did not care that it was not the way. She cared that was here and alive. That evening asked to come to her command chamber. He had never been there before. It was a large room at the top of the ship. From every wall, huge windows showed the stars outside. The view was beautiful and endless. Stood at the center of the room, looking out at the cosmos. Stood beside her. "I have been thinking about your future," said. "You are human. Your people live shorter lives than the humans usually live to around 80 or 90 years old. I am already 130. I will live for another 70 years or more. This is a problem." Did not know what to say. He thought about what she was saying. He thought about what it meant. But continued, "I have been researching human genetics. I have looked at the humans who live the longest. Some humans have lived to be 120 years old. The length of a life is often determined by genetics and choices. I believe that with medical technology, we could extend your life." "How long?" asked. "Perhaps to 130 years, said. "Perhaps longer. Not as long as I will live, but long enough. Long enough for a life to mean something." "Why are you telling me this?" asked. Turned to face him. Her crystal eyes glowed bright blue. "Because I want to ask you something," she said. "I want to ask you to bond with me. A bond is a permanent joining of two individuals. It is rare. We do not bond often. We only bond with those we see as our equals, as our match." Felt his heart racing. "You want to marry me?" "Your word is close," said. "A bond is deeper. It means we will share our lives. We will build a future together. We will help each other and support each other. We will be family in the deepest sense." "But I am human," said. "I am temporary. I will die eventually." "Yes," said. "You will die. All things that live will die someday. They live long, but we will die too. The time that we have matters more than the length of time. If I have 50 years with you, truly with you, that is better than 200 years alone." Thought about his life on the station. He had been alone, he had worked, he had slept. No one had cared about him, no one had needed him. Now he had Lyra, who loved him like a child loves a parent. Now he had, who loved him in a way that had changed her entire being. Now he had a purpose. "Yes," said, "I will bond with you." Made a sound of joy, a sound that filled the entire chamber. She reached out and held him. For the first time, felt the full warmth of embrace. 2 weeks later, there was a ceremony. The entire crew gathered. The other commanders came. They watched as and stood together before the council. They spoke words of commitment in both language and human language. They touched their bodies together in the way of bonding. Lyra stood between them, and her light grew bright with happiness. She was no longer a child without a father. She had a family now, a real family. After the ceremony, the three of them stood at the observation window. They looked out at the stars together. His arm was around. Lyra's hand was in his. They were not a typical family. They were not even the same species, but they were together. "What will happen now?" asked. "Now," said, we teach them that logic is important, but so is feeling. We teach them that strength comes in many forms. We teach them that a short life lived with love is better than a long life lived alone." "Will they listen?" asked. "Some will," said. "Others will resist. Change is never simple, but it will happen. You have shown us that it is possible to be both strong and compassionate. You have shown us that sacrifice can be an act of power, not weakness." As they stood together, looking out at the vast and endless universe, thought about the moment that had changed everything. He thought about the marketplace on 9. He thought about a small child being hurt. He thought about the choice to stand up and protect her, even though it meant pain and danger. That single choice had led him here, to this place, to this woman, to this life among the stars. Had been no one. He had been a dock worker with no family and no future, but he had chosen compassion. He had chosen to protect someone weaker, and that choice had given him everything. "I love you," he said too. The woman's entire body glowed brighter. These were words she was still learning to understand, but she understood them now. "I love you too," she said, "and I will love you for as long as we both exist." Below them, the stars shone in the darkness. Ahead of them, a new future was beginning. and behind them the empire would never be the same again.